Hi there. My name's Caity Curry. I'm a PhD candidate in sociology at the University of Minnesota, with a specialization specifically in law, crime, and punishment in the United States. And my dissertation research specifically is kind of centered around the role of public defenders in criminal legal reform and transformation in U.S. Southern courtrooms. Um, and I specifically am really interested in how kind of public defenders' practices and their attempts at relationship building with their clients kind of both reproduces and potentially like helps to push back against systemic racial and class inequalities in criminal courtrooms. And I'm focused specifically on public defenders because most people who go through criminal courtrooms are represented by a court appointed attorney. And I'm really specifically kind of interested in their role in pushing for change in criminal courts. We've noticed a lot specifically around kind of discussions around reform and organizing and change in the criminal legal system is often focused kind of on the front and back end of the system, right? So folks look at things like policing, right? There's a lot of this that's going on in Minneapolis right now around change and reform in the policing. And then folks also tend to look at things like prisons, but we often don't focus as much on what's going on in the middle there, right? In criminal courts. And I'm really specifically interested in public defenders because I think that they are a critical piece of this puzzle that's often kind of missing from broader discussions about criminal legal reform and transformation. And that there's likely both strengths and limitations to their pushes for change. So as a community engaged scholar, I'm really committed to producing research that both like openly confronts, but also seeks to address systemic oppression in the criminal legal system. And like in my previous kind of service and advocacy work, I've really tried to leverage my skills and expertise as a researcher in support of grassroots and local organizations' efforts to dismantle race and wealth-based disparities in our criminal legal system, and to really just as a whole more support folks who are impacted by the criminal legal system in a myriad of ways. So for just to kind of give an example, for 2 years I worked as a researcher and advocate at Children of Incarcerated Caregivers, a local Minneapolis nonprofit that really works to kind of end mass parental incarceration. And in this role, I was able to really like help co-produce things like research articles, reports, legal trainings that really centered on the racial and class inequities in parental incarceration in the U.S., but also specifically in Minnesota. And I was actually able to, with Mary Britz at the YMCA, the Blaisdell YMCA, and Julie Maitnick, the founder of CIC, Children of Incarcerated Caregivers, and other kind of key players, was able to fundraise money from the Minneapolis Foundation for a summer camp for youth of color who are impacted by parental incarceration. And this has kind of been an ongoing effort at CIC since we first were able to kind of raise this money. And really, I would just say that my greatest passion in life is to really leverage my expertise and skill set to really support grassroots organizing, policy reform, and transformative efforts to upend mass incarceration and reimagine our justice system. And I think I would just kind of end there with some advice and some things that I've learned throughout my journey in this role. And I think that what's always stuck with me is, there's a lot of really intelligent, smart people in this world, but I think what we really need in folks among like not just researchers like myself, but really all the kind of key stakeholders here, folks, the activists on the ground, the policymakers in the halls, all of those kind of key players who are pushing for change in our criminal legal system. I really think what we need the most right now is really radical empathy, radical compassion, and really just an appreciation for imagining not only a criminal legal system, but a whole world that is really geared towards liberation and healing, and addressing these like deeply inequitable, oppressive, dehumanizing institutions like our criminal courts and like our criminal legal system as a whole. So thank you.